now we're going to veer toward a world of question marks instead of exclamation points. The novelist Philip Roth said, "The novelist teaches the reader to comprehend the world as a question." And I think that the composer Schubert could hold his own against any novelist in terms of numbers of questions posed. So the next two pieces that I'm going to talk about and play for you are by Schubert. The first one of them is a very late sonata he wrote for piano, the B-flat sonata. And in it, interestingly, all the questions seem, let me clear this off a bit. All the questions seem to revolve around one note, and that's the note of G-flat, which makes its appearance quite early on in the piece. So you'll hear at the beginning, again, a sort of a very serene kingdom, a kingdom almost that seems to kind of exist somewhere between heaven and earth. Let me play you the opening tune, and you'll think that this king would never want anything to change. There's really never been probably a more gentle or loving melody written. Why would you ever want to leave that place? That's a dear perpetual place if ever there was one. But as soon as that tune finishes, you hear this. Followed by silence. And then the tune starts again. Now that tune is in B-flat major, so we're in the kingdom of B-flat major, and that sort of incognito rumble underneath is on G-flat. You'll remember that we said that 4 and 5 were the king's right-hand men. G-flat is 6 in B-flat, and so it's not terribly far afield, but it's not a right-hand man. And B-flat doesn't quite know much what to make of this rumble underneath. There's something very ominous about it. It's so unformed, it's so deep down, it's so hard to tell what the pitches actually are. And after B-flat comes back and plays its melody again, it obviously keeps thinking about G-flat, keeps thinking about that visitor and wondering what to do with it. And at the end of its second statement of the tune, it goes down and it rumbles, very much like B-flat did, and then it descends down to G-flat. And it seems to invite G-flat into its kingdom, or invite G-flat to be an ally. And G-flat comes and plays the same tune you heard in B-flat, and now in G-flat you hear. And there's no question that there's been a friendship formed, almost a sort of marriage made in heaven, because this music is so celestial that G-flat provides us with. And it's, of course, taken the same tune that B-flat had provided. And so the two are united, even though they clearly occupy different spheres of their sort of tonal hemispheres. There's a quote from an earlier Schubert song, which says that we are caught between the fear of extinction and the joy of transfiguration. And as this G-flat sort of plays itself out in this piece, it feels as if that key itself sort of encompasses both of those possibilities. So at first, clearly, it's filled with a kind of terror. And then there's an absolute transfiguration, a sort of radiance. And B-flat is left, I think, to wonder, does it want to fully accept this visitor, or does it make it too uncomfortable? And eventually it decides it's too uncomfortable, and you hear this series of chords. B-flat is on top, and G-flat is on the bottom, and we don't know who's going to win. So who won? Oh, you don't know? B flat, 1, but not for long. So B flat is back. That's the B flat of the opening, and it restates its theme at a very high level. We sort of think that everything is settled until we get to here, which ought to be the final statement of its victory. It ought to go like this. And we'd say, yes, done and finished. Instead, it goes like this. And all of a sudden, the world has become a question, right? Continues to be a question until we arrive there. But when we look at where we arrive, we've arrived on that same note. That note is G flat, but it's been renamed. It's become an F sharp, so we don't understand who it is. It's much worse to encounter a person you thought you knew and find that there's somebody else than it is to just meet someone new, right? It's quite terrifying. So here we've suddenly met this person we thought we knew, but it's not the person we knew anymore. And it's not only F sharp instead of G flat, it's in minor instead of in major. First it was. And now it's filled with a kind of anxiety. It has a new and very anxious sort of throbbing accompaniment, and in fact it's become a new theme. So what the end result of that is that we understand that B flat was enormously vulnerable, right? That it didn't know how to deal with the other relationships coming into its orbit, whether they were friends or foes, and we don't know whether they're friends or foes, but it's all about a lack of certainty rather than a sense of belonging. Okay, so let me play this for you, and hopefully you'll be able to follow the drama of B flat and G flat. Get a sense of how those two keys interact with each other, and how enormously ambivalent B flat is about its relationship with G flat, in the same way that we're, I think, ambivalent about whether we are living in constant terror of extinction or in the sort of radiance of transfiguration.